We're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, but tonight I'm going to pass the torch on to Brandon as he is continuing the disheveled path down through his wavy mind of his. Why don't you tell us exactly what film you had us or subjected us to watch this week?
I'd like to think we've been doing pretty good this month. Overall, but yeah, a lot of my stuff being more of the kind of strange and comedic variety. This one more the disturbing and comedic variety, as we cover the live-action movie for Detroit Metal City by Toshio Lee. And this was pardon me, my computer just wanted to get me, 2008 film. A live-action, of course, a rendition of the anime, which also corresponded with the manga, of a young man who made the trip to Tokyo to be a folk pop star, but things didn't quite work out the way that he wanted them to. So I guess we'll start with Brittany. Is this your first time seeing Detroit Metal City?
Not the live action or the anime.
The live action.
I said neither. Both of them I've seen before.
Well, what was your first impression?
Definitely strange and weird. It's certainly not the strangest anime I've come across, but definitely one of the first to cover death metal. Nowadays we have Agretzko, which is a popular series on Netflix that covers death metal a little bit. But it's kind of refreshing and going back about 10 years later on DMC and seeing this sort of almost hidden away gem these days for anime fans.
All right. So, Dave, was this your first introduction to DMC?
Yes, it certainly was. And it surprised me that Gene Simmons showed up in there, even if for like a few butterfly moments. But this was a first time watch. It's kind of like he's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of a character with a little bit of Phantom of the Opera going on there. It was a little refreshing. You could definitely tell there was some humor. Boy, was he a wimp when he wanted to be. It was fairly enjoyable. I found it entertaining enough.
All right. Well, Mo, was this your first time with the DMC movie?
Yes, it was definitely my first time with the movie. I did the anime discussion with you guys the other day, so it was cool to go into it with some, base of comparison. And I gotta say, I enjoyed it. It was good. It could have been great if they'd hadn't taken such a weird route with the characterization of our main character as such a almost slimy level, simpering, whimpering fucking little dork, that was the biggest issue with the entire movie, and because he just wasn't like that in the anime. I mean, he was a bit of a wimp, but it came natural because he's like this sort of soft-spoken, plain little dude that just wants to play coffee shop rock, In this, he's like kind of hard. What's that?
I say you did become kind of a dork when he tried to perform his music, though.
A little bit, but I mean, it's, it was all very believable. Whereas, like, this dude's almost the version of him in this is kind of hard to look at. But other than that, I think the movie works pretty well as being sort of like kind of, I hesitate to say serious, but like a comedic biopic that touches on serious moments, I suppose. I think if they did a better job with the way our main dude was portrayed, it could have worked a lot better than it does. But it definitely had some funny moments in there, even though they pretty much made it G-rated compared to the anime.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing we got to point out is the anime is pretty much 13 minutes of straight debauchery at a pop, like for 12 episodes for the most part.
Oh, yeah,
it's fully full, like a bunch of insane, offensive stuff. And this had moments where it sort of captured the humor of the anime for a minute. But I think largely they kind of played it a little safe with that and focused more on telling, I guess, the story of the kid in the band. And it was welcome, because it's a lot of that stuff in the anime would have just seemed super, super mean spirited too if they recreated it in live action,
So, Tammy, was this your first experience with DMC?
Yes, it was my first. I thought it was kind of weird. I mean, the kid, was just like a total pansy unless he was in the makeup and on stage. So it was kind of unique how, when he wasn't in the makeup, he was a total wimp. He was, crying and he even when he ran like okay, you look like a dork.
I love it so much. I mean, that is one thing about this.
He ran like Steven Seagal.
It's amazing. I love it.
Well, yeah, and then when he put the makeup on, man, he could run the 100-yard dash in about 2 seconds.
He sure could, but he was keeping
he
good
was,
time with his pansy run too. Like, I think that penis haircut made him aerodynamic or something. So he just flowed.
Anything else that you wanted to say, Tammy?
Yeah, it was definitely unique. It was definitely unique.
Well, that's I will take that. We will move on. Kroll, was this your first time seeing DMC?
Yes, I had never heard of it. It sounded good. I want to say it wasn't as good as I was hoping it to be. I did enjoy the music. The music was pretty good in it. That said, when he was on stage, when I enjoyed him as his persona every time I saw it, even not on stage, it was pretty good. Except when he was thinking with his real voice, and then it was back to because his voice is just fucking horrible. I mean, it's just whiny the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Even when he's not crying, which is constant through the whole entire movie, it's fucking whiny. And his music that he wants to do is fucking god awful. When he was on stage as his persona singing his own song was the one time I didn't like him as persona either, because that song was just fucking horrible. And it was great to see the reaction of the crowd, kind of like, what's going on? Like, what the fuck is he singing? And Gene Simmons over there, like, what the fuck? So yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll admit the anime has a much more interesting persona. The crowd has its own character. I mean, they were talking about him raping Tokyo Tower, and there's that scene with the 5-year-old singing that.
Yeah, and crowds of time.
Yeah.
Yes,
that kid was cute. I thought it was pretty funny when he's like, banging against that restaurant or whatever, and and then the little kid like, "Mommy," and she's like trying to hide him away, and the kid's all scared, and then she sees him again at the amusement park, and there's that weird guy again.
That's actually one of the few scenes in the movie that wasn't in the anime, and I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, it was enjoyable in parts, is what is best to say. Definitely was weird, but I don't know, like some of it was weird in a good way, and a lot of it was weird in a bad way. So it was kind of one of those things that wasn't completely enjoyable, wasn't completely horrible either. So.
So, Jake, was this your first time seeing the DMC movie?
You know damn well it wasn't, because you subjected me to these a long time ago. But
I know, but the audience doesn't.
I know.
Some of these people here don't know.
And actually, real quick though, follow up to a point Kroll just made. Mo would be our expert on this. Would you expect in a death metal concert that anyone would ever troll the crowd by singing something like a completely sappy pop song just out of the blue?
Oh, yeah, dude. I've heard bands do like the first few bars of Bop during sound check and shit. You know?
Now, I actually been to a death metal concert, and they started doing Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Thriller's one you do here is like a sound check.
Right.
It was a few years after he died, so someone yelled in the crowd too soon. But yeah, I actually liked the way they were doing the Michael Jackson. It was kind of neat.
Right.
So I was actually friends with the lead singer of the band. He was my roommate. So yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I gave, and check out definitely the anime discussion. We went into a lot of this on that, but my initial impression, which was kind of interesting, Brandon showed me the anime and then the movie, and I friggin' hated the anime the first time I saw it, and but I loved the movie, and it puzzled me because on first viewing, I thought they were very much the same creature. On second viewing, I'm going to definitely say that's not entirely accurate, but there's a lot that's the same. Story-wise, they mix it up and throw it in a blender, but it's the same basic events, really. The main differences are that, yes, they did strip out a lot of the more depraved elements of the anime, and there are certain aspects to live action Japanese comedy that I have mixed feelings on, and one of them is dramatic overacting, and definitely this Kenichi Mitsuyama, who plays the main character, was definitely going way over the top, and it was cringeworthy at times. Like I will admit he was a wimp in the anime, but it was cringe in the movie. So my second viewing was I saw more of the flaws of the movie. I liked the anime much better on the second go around. It has been about a decade maybe since I saw it, I think. So it gave it time for me to think about it and kind of process in my mind. And for all of you here who have dragged me deeper down into that hole of dark and depraved stuff, this made it a little easier to enjoy it this time around.
Hell yeah.
And,
that's great.
And overall, I do think that it's a strange movie and it's a flawed movie, but it is a lot of fun. And I definitely enjoyed, I can say enjoyed seeing it again. I kind of enjoyed seeing the anime the second time around. So it's not one I'm going to hit regularly, but now and then.
Adam Susan in the comments says Faith No More does stuff like that in reference to like trolling, the crowd with silly songs, I guess you could say, which makes sense. Yeah, they seem like
sounds good. And I think that crowd kind of was going, "Wait, is he trolling us? What?"
Yeah, but that actually also goes with the anime, because the crowd is almost always just like hyped on him, on Krauser, no matter what he does. Mm-hmm. I mean, look in the anime when you had that dude who basically is the imposter, and his sound is almost nothing like, and they're all confused, but they're just like, okay, we're gonna get into this. It's obviously something he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and one other thing, talking about characters going over the top, and Brandon mentioned this as a comment that he thought Jagi was different in the movie. He was very much a simpering sycophant in the movie, whereas he was fairly normal in the anime. So I was very disappointed by that one.
Yeah, it's it seems like they just took some minor sort of character thing in the anime and just super amplified it for their portrayals in this movie. Because the main kid he might be kind of wimpy, but he's likable, at least in the anime for the most part. And yeah, that other dude, like that was a bizarre change to make with him. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they would do that.
I think Ayakawa seems sharper in the movie, and that might have been one of the reasons I liked it in the first go around. She's almost painfully naive in the anime.
True enough.
Wait, she's sharper in the movie? for reporter, I thought she was pretty dense, but with the exception of figuring out who he was, she kind of figured that out right away, I think. But yeah.
Well, so Forrest, was this your first time experiencing DMC?
Yep, absolutely. I have never heard of this movie. I had never watched the anime or read the comic or read the manga. I do consider myself a heavy metal fan and love, and as well as a fan of movies about heavy metal and hard rock, like this is Spinal Tap, Airheads, Detroit Rock City, which this movie's title was inspired by. Inspired by the song originally. So I always like finding new movies about the genre to watch. And this is definitely one of the more bizarre ones I've seen. Yeah, I have to agree though. The protagonist is pretty much the protagonist out of costume is kind of a wuss. I don't get it. He's kind of like I don't know. It's I guess one thing he kind of did. It's so weird how like when he's out of costume, he's such a different person. It's not like in the way that a like say a superhero is they consciously switch egos between identities. But the music was pretty. I thought the music, but yeah, it was kind of a silly. But otherwise, it was kind of a silly flick. I definitely love the music. Definitely enjoy the music though. And I also appreciated the Super Sentai cameo at the amusement park.
They take that even further over the edge in the anime.
Really? Actually, I'm wondering, was this a Toei production?
I don't remember.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, because that might explain the Super Sentai. But yeah, it's I don't know. But yeah, I have to agree. This is definitely a strange movie, and I don't quite get the protagonist how he can be just his. I guess compare it just like say a superhero movie or like say Tootsie or Mrs. Doubtfire, where the protagonist is like going around being two different people. I don't know.
It's super pronounced in this, which is I
Yeah.
will give that to the anime too, that they did a much better job of making, Krauser seem like he was just part of the kid's personality that, could come out sometimes, and he was like not totally insufferable in the anime. He just seemed like a regular kid that would want to play that kind of music and not want to play death metal, whereas in this he's like hard to fucking deal with, man.
And Jake was pretty much right on the money on that. When you're talking about a lot of live action Japanese comedy, especially in that, though it can be the case in other things like horror or so on. There's just that idea, and it's a classical way of acting, is to way overact, and so they kind of take the personalities to the extreme. And in this case, I really feel like it did make it less of a less enjoyable than the anime.
Yeah, if his characterization was closer, it would have been like just a better movie. That's the one thing holding it back to me.
I never saw the anime, but I would have to agree just to the fact that he was very unbearable when he was very unlikable.
Of course, now I can't not be thinking of Krauser-san as the superhero persona, and Kenichi as the or Negishi, sorry, is the secret identity.
That would be.
We'll definitely get into that a little.
They'll do a crossover one day with Krauser and Zebra Man.
Do you have anything else though, as far as your first impressions, Forrest?
I think as far, this play, I don't know. I just found this movie kind of all over the place. The music was great. Again, I think this is one of those instances where I found the soundtrack better than the movie.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot more to the soundtrack than that from the anime, which is kind of cool.
Well, we got to address the elephant in the room here too, and that is that in the anime, they fairly successfully managed to capture the death metal sound as well for a lot of it. In this, there are a couple of tracks that they play that are definitely like heavily death metal or black metal inspired, but for the large portion of it, they're playing kind of like standard sort of arena metal type shit. So that it's a little weird with the whole definition of death metal thing attached to the front of the movie too, and it's just like, whoa, how could they...
I liked it, but I was like thinking, this doesn't really sound that much like death metal. Even his singing wasn't really death metal. The words might have been the lyrics.
It's closer to like Dimmu Borgir as pretty much as heavy as they get with it in this, and that's fine. Maybe if they'd just not constantly been referencing death metal in the live action movie, I'd have been able to let it go. But it's like, what the hell? Gene Simmons is not death metal. No, even if he's singing along to whatever band it was,
And I'll say that actually later on I probably will try my best to work on maybe giving some of that, spread some of that out so y'all can hear some of the others, like I think Death Penis and some of the other odd names, but that they had. Anything else for your first impression for us?
Well, I did get a kick out of them. I think they called him Penis Head when they were making fun of his haircut. That was
the brother,
the public obscenity cut, bro.
Right.
Yeah, they haircut was just.
I'm thinking about getting it. Be a good summer do.
I'll not be looking at you again.
So, well, I guess I'll go ahead into my first impressions. If I'm recalling correctly, and I know that he was definitely involved when it came to it, a friend of several of ours, he has definitely missed, had, I believe, introduced me to this in one format or another. And he was super psyched about this series, including the manga. I remember him talking about Krauser's father, like Krauser the First, which appeared in the manga. And so I had gotten into this because I like some weird and extreme humor. And this one really did hit the spot when it came to that. And when I saw that there was a live action movie, of course I had to get on board with that. Now, I'm not going to lie. By the time I recommended it, I had very little memory of the live action movie. I just knew that it took from the anime because it had been over a decade since I'd last seen it. And watching it, I agree with a lot of the stuff. I think that the over-the-top comedy or comedic acting really did hurt it in many ways, especially with some of the characters like Jagi, especially, where he had been kind of not a serious guy, but more of just like a fairly cool dude who's just, I'm in it for the paycheck and let's not ruin the gravy train, to whatever they made him into. But I also really liked I like some of the character, like Jake said about the love interest. I think she was more savvy, and I did like some aspects that they had, like making this fit a movie structure. It did have a predefined beginning, middle, and end, which that's not really the case with the anime. It could go, once you got the basics down, you could pretty much go in any order with the episodes, and for the most part, hit it right. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started off with some of the plots and characters. We had talked in the anime discussion about Negishi, but this version of Negishi is, as many point out, a bit more of a amplification of some of the parts. Though I did think that the actor did an excellent job in some areas, like the over-the-top worked well when he was singing his song in front of those people at that stylish bar. If you remember, he actually did the whole, because the character in the anime did that. He came across just like he was supposed to, and and his portrayal of Krauser really got nailed as well. Now, as far as the character itself, one of the things I can't remember, I think it was Forrest, who I don't see, maybe, who had said that it was kind of hard to believe in that case because of how extreme it was. But I do think that the character was a bit more believable in the anime. And I like Negishi because I think of him as a duology, as somebody who Krauser has always been a part of him that he's repressed for many years. Right. And it's been repressed so much. He's taken everything on the chin with a smile so much that it's just all coming out when he's on the stage. Krauser,
it's like I remarked when we were talking about it, it's always the quiet ones.
But I actually think that Krauser's closer to the real Negishi than the Negishi portrayed in this film is.
And actually, I think I will say I like the portrayal of Krauser in the film. I think Kenichi Matsuyama plays the character. I think he was painfully over the top as Negishi, but I think he did a pretty good job with Krauser. I felt like he showed some depth to the character. And this is an actor who I know can do more than just silly goofiness. I mean, it's the guy that played L in the live action movies, and he's, of course, had a lot of voice roles as well. And he definitely did, honestly, some of the best and worst acting in the movie, which is kind of weird.
It really is.
So, yeah.
Any other thoughts on Negishi? I know we talked a lot about him already, but
Yeah, I mean, it's I would agree with Jake fully that the Krauser in the movie is pretty spot on. And if he probably easily could have played the Negishi from the anime as the non-persona as well.
Oh,
like it seems like he has the skill. He could have really done that justice if he dialed it back.
I think it's less on the actor as more of the direction.
Right. It feels almost like they did that shit so over the top to kind of make up for the missing humor from all the other insanity that's in the anime that I'm sure we'll touch on as we hit certain scenes. But
he needed to go after Tokyo Tower. Tokyo Tower was one. So, Brittany, you were going to say?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I do think it comes down to the directing more than the acting in his part, because it is, you can kind of see the way he moved, the way he acted physically in the two roles showed that he was putting a good effort into it. But I have a feeling the director probably was like, make it whinier, make him seem that much more annoying. And that's probably what pushed it over the top.
It was especially glaring for me, having just watched The Power of the Dog, and Cody Smith-McPhee is up for an Oscar for playing a similar type of character in a lot of ways, and he underplays it. He plays it very quiet and controlled, and it's a totally different way of playing a quote-unquote wimp type character, and it's just, again, it comes down to probably what was being asked and required, and unfortunately this version just is cringe. But the underplayed version, I'm like, okay, I get that works.
Yeah, you can buy him as an actual human being, not a fucking cartoon character that's somehow more believable when he's dressed up as a cartoon character, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like Krauser you can buy in this one, but the kid on his own, it just feels like it's almost like some Dumb and Dumber shit or something, like that kind of humor,
Right.
But it just didn't fit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How can you be that dim, as a regular person? that just. I mean, I keep hearing in my mind, if you've ever seen Romeo Must Die, the dude that kept saying "dim sum, dim sum."
Okay.
So, any other thoughts on Negishi before we move on? I did want to hit Jagi also real quick. To those who are familiar,
I wanted to hit him too.
Me too. I was. That's the one that was so staggeringly different.
Yeah.
Those who didn't see the anime, I guess you didn't feel the loss. But if you felt annoyed by the character, then you should feel disappointed because the anime character is nothing like that one.
Yeah. I mean, again,
he ran like, I don't even fucking know what he ran like, but it was just like, the fuck is waving his arms around and
that's are you talking about Yagi or Negishi, the main kid?
That's the alphabet jog.
Yeah,
he reminded me of the character, like the effeminate type character that they had in the Bruce Lee movies. That was always like the second in command to the villain. Yes, boss. Mm-hmm. Yes, boss. That sort of thing. That was just. I don't know. It just.
They made him the yes man, is what they did.
Yeah,
he was a literal yes man. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, there's always the yes man in a lot of Japanese culture, and even in spoofing Japanese culture. If you've watched a Nicktoon called Kappa Mikey back in the 90s, they literally had a guy named Yes Man.
Oh yes.
Right.
It's literally the concept that you have somebody stand behind you going, yes, 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 yes.
Yes, master. Yes.
Yes, boss. Yes, boss.
Yes. But yeah, it's he again in the and I can't speak on the manga, but in the anime, Yagi is he's the bassist. He is the sort of the calm anchor on the side of the stage, which is kind of a typical role for a bassist in a performance. But off stage too, he was kind of the calm anchor. He didn't really live the life the way the drummer does, but he also didn't hate it the way Negishi does.
Yeah.
He's just kind of in the middle. He's like, it's a job. I'm working. I'm playing music. Okay, go. What do y'all need me to do? He's kind of a yes man type, but he's not. It's not. He's not going overboard with it. He's kind of just the guy who's there to work, and although, when they do have that night out, you get to see that he's also a little bit of a ladies' man, he's a little bit of a,
yeah. That date night, which I'm sad that they didn't include that in the movie. Yeah. I think they would have ruined with the over the top of the two.
Yeah, that would have been hard to watch.
It was hilarious.
It would have been hard to watch. Like it wasn't already.
The date night scene would have been hard to watch with the way they were playing those two characters.
I can't say on that because I've never seen it.
What's that?
I can imagine.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Caymus really quickly. He doesn't have much of a role in this one, but for those who saw the anime, he's the drummer. And though he didn't have as much of a role, for those who saw the anime, I'm sure that y'all probably agree with me that it was pretty well spot on to the character in the anime.
It was pretty well spot on. This was the PG-13 version, but it was pretty much,
And the question is, what did he do with that PlayStation game?
You don't want to know.
I mean, he only opened his mouth up to talk about food and profanity. That was about it.
Yeah.
Hey, and bloomers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would open his mouth to talk about food or something sexual, usually in a very, 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 very crude way. And that was it.
And this actor played it. Actually, this actor played it very reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been much, much better if he came up with profanity and shit,
Definitely. Yeah, that's the main thing that's really missing from the movie, other than the other stuff. But like I said earlier, I think some of the scenes would have been hard to shoot in real life without it seeming really mean to even subject the actors to doing all that. But they are funny in the anime for sure.
And of course, just real quick, we'll address the missing pig in the room.
Oh, geez.
The Pig of Capitalism, which I think that they took this guy out for multiple reasons. For those of you who did not see the anime, Mo has a picture of him for his icon. But he's essentially a masochist whose job is to sit on stage with a ball gag and all that and be beaten by the band members, mainly Krauser. I'm guessing they took him out more because of to make it a little bit less.
That would have been funny. That would have been great. That's what I want to see,
dude.
That would have made the parts that suck more bearable, maybe.
And dude, everyone is just getting dry humped to oblivion in the anime. Like they shove a microphone in their mouth and dry hump them while they squeal. It's pretty insane.
That would have been way better.
Yeah, they do it to that Melon Tea band at one point after that touching moment where he hypes them up in the bathroom before their performance. Then in the anime, they go out there and crash the show and do that to him on camera and shit. It's fucked up.
Right. I think they kind of did that in this one, if I'm remembering correctly. Wasn't the scene where he accidentally hung himself when they were trying to crash that was during the punk show here, but in the anime, wasn't that?
It was in the anime.
That was Tetrapod. Wasn't it Tetrapod Melon Tea where he accidentally hung himself? Or am I getting that mixed up?
No, they had they forced ran them when they were on the show together.
Oh, okay.
And that one guy was humping the shit out of his tambourine. It was so fucking
Jeez.
They did have
And, and reference has been made to the Tokyo Tower scene, but I have a feeling that to do that right, they might have needed more than they had in the budget.
Hey, I would have settled for some really crappy computer graphics. It just would have been awesome.
I mean, can we talk about the opening credits? I mean, the opening credits were absolutely a Marvel movie element.
They were pretty cool, yeah.
That's where all the money went, I swear.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure half the money probably went to paying Gene Simmons, but I'm sure the rest of it probably went to that.
Well, and see, on the same,
credits were really cool. I almost thought we were watching an anime at first.
Yeah, it was great. I really liked it.
Or
as Forrest said, a superhero movie.
Yeah.
I did think the opening. It did its job of getting me interested. Which it was the rest of the movie that took my interest a little bit further away. But yeah, that opening was pretty spectacular. And they used that animation. They used animation with the live action bits and with the death metal soundtrack in the background. I think they used Satsugai for that, which would be the one, because that's the main theme of the band.
And Satsugai was also the theme that played over the anime, which was a very cool opening too. But one thing I think is cool is that they use the same music mostly. Like Setsugai does play a big part in both versions. And so does that pop song, that Sweet Love. and there's a couple others that were used. And did they I don't recall that they actually really played fucking Palace in the anime. I don't think.
No, it was strictly for the movie.
Yeah, so that was different, but
hey, Slipknot with a performance by Gene Simmons being up there and looking like he's singing it. So yeah,
I liked the Buffalo of Hell or whatever. That thing's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah,
right.
Well, there's also Jacob's favorite character, the manager.
Oh dear God.
Did you like her better in this one? Because
she's easier to take in the movie. She definitely is. And it helps that Yasuko Matsuyuki is not too hard on the eyes. And actually, I see that she's the one that plays Lust in the live action FMA, which makes perfect sense.
I can see that.
We're going to have to see that now. But
yeah.
She with Dobermans.
She also
have to see it.
She also goes a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
But in a sense, it works better for her. Like I love that screeching laugh she has.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was definitely great. I mean, sometimes it was like kind of out of place, like, why is she laughing like that? But it was still kind of funny to hear every time. So
but what Brandon was referencing is that overall, I think the character is disgusting and repulsive. She's just funnier in this version.
I agree, she is.
I wish she was my manager.
It's actually really great, and I do love how they actually, that character does seem to inside. She's actually a nicer person than she portrays. Like she actually seems like she does care somewhat for the main character, and she's just trying to help him reach her potential. I mean, obviously for herself too, but you know, I think like when she's talking to the girlfriend or almost girlfriend or whatever the fuck you want to call her, you know, you kind of see that, you know, she's just trying to get him to reach his potential, and he had such great potential, and he left, and you know. I really thought though in the scene when she's trashing his apartment and stuff, I thought she was gonna rape him.
That scene is one reason why I don't buy for a second that she has decency in her, and it was even worse in the anime. But just
It's
She was
important to
just a
know
total.
that in,
She was a total bitch and out for selfish gain. So, maybe deep down, maybe as a manager, she saw his potential as a talented young man, but she was in it for herself. She was not. She was not in
Yeah.
it to get him to his potential at all.
Yeah.
She was actually nastier in the anime, you said?
dude, okay,
Oh,
let me
right.
paint
Yep.
a picture for you. In the anime, those dogs are two big, buff Chippendale motherfuckers that she rolls around with for the purpose of trashing people and their apartments. And when they come to his house, they not only trash his apartment and do all that shit to him, but they force him to participate in them just ravaging his old landlord, just this poor sweet old
Yeah.
man. And they unlock his wild youthful urges, and he just becomes like a fucking air humping death metal maniac. It's insane.
Yeah. They corrupt this sweet old man.
Yeah, it's so brutal, dude.
Sounds
They
great.
did nail the look of his apartment afterwards, though. In the
Yes,
movie.
Yeah, they did.
Turned it into a hellscape. It's a bit like worse even in the anime, but they got it pretty solid in this.
It's interesting
Oh.
how she always finds somebody to put her cigarettes out on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I love when she snipes him with that long distance shot and still burns him in the forehead.
Yeah. On
That was
great.
actually, yeah. That was a visual gag that I actually found kind of amusing.
Yeah, it was great.
A few
Yeah,
characters.
yeah, it was that was definitely funny.
Just flick him with a cigarette. That's to get him into his death metal mode.
And that shit hurts too. I've had ashes flicked on me, and not on purpose, not the way she does it, but holy crap, that hurts. No.
Yeah. I've I remember one time I was driving and went to flick my cigarette and the whole head came off and hit the window and hit my landed on my neck right in the middle. I was driving, I had to pull over and like get it off me, and I was like, ah! You know, like,
It's like that
fucking
scene from The Big
burned me.
Lebowski.
I'm like, I'm
Just
just
less
like,
credence
yep,
or whatever.
cigarettes are definitely bad for the health because that's all I can think about. Because I'm driving, and luckily I didn't cause an accident or anything. But that was something else.
We'll only hit one more of the main characters before we try and move on with the plot, and we'll hit anybody else as we go. But of course, Yuri Ayakawa is of course our other female character who is obviously very similar to the manager in many ways. But
almost
she's
opposite.
Negashi's love interest. It's actually kind of interesting. Like Jacob had said, she's played a bit more airheaded in the anime. I mean, she's still somewhat intelligent, but you feel like I
wouldn't say airheaded so much as just naive and a little dense.
She accepts a heck of a lot more than she does here. And
yes,
that's crazy because
she accepts things in the anime that she ought not to accept, and that was one of my biggest issues with the anime. And this one, she calls him on some of his crap a lot more, which that's I think one of the reasons I liked the movie better the first time I saw it.
I mean, when they're talking about that thing, and we talked about this in the anime discussion, which I'll plug that again at the end on my channel, but. Then when she's taking that guy over to the amusement park, and this one you can feel a lot more than in the anime. In the anime, you kind of sort of get a hunch, but in this, you can definitely feel that she's basically egging him on to say, "No, don't do it."
Right.
But so she did a much better job portraying that. It kind of felt like that in the anime, but not nearly to that level.
And this guy he's talking about, Hidetaka Asato, is like, what is he, like the number 4 most fashionable person in Tokyo or some such silly thing? And he's a total hipster douche bro, and he is pretty much spot on identical in both versions. They did him.
Yeah, he looks like the animated dude. Like, they really did a good job with him in this.
And that part where he goes up and tells Negishi, if you're just going to play around, get off, you go outside and do it, is actually worse in the movie because he actually puts his hand on his mouth. In the anime, he just kind of looks at him. He's like, dude, if you're just going to fool around, go outside. You know, this one,
his mouth was fucking great. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's got to shut him up.
I mean, that was a dick move, though. Not even letting him get through one song.
But it was needed.
It
really was.
The performance was pretty much identical almost with how he performed it in the anime.
And the audience reaction.
That over the top actually does come across in his performance because when he performs as Negishi, he does that exact thing where he's got his little two hands like up next to him and just like back and forth wiggling his butt and everything back and forth.
Yeah.
So that he did get very close to. But well, let's get started with the plot.
I get a kick out of everything. It's like I want to be fashionable, like fashionable dress. I want a fashionable music and fashionable. Everything they say is fashionable. It's like
right.
Not used to that kind of talk. It's kind of
very. What's the word? I think you had that hipster. I guess is the word.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, Japan's basically, I think, the kingdom of the hipsters. If you really want to think about it, they're very trend obsessed, from what I've always been told and seen.
Right.
You know,
it kind of feels like he's kind of like the hipster. Would be the hipster where like what would I say, like maybe like late 90s early aughts boy band kind of stuff is like the
and yet they're using a word that would probably be used on the Queen's court. Everything is so fashionable, you know. It's a Queen word, but
so
I mean, the thing with his music is, though, it's obviously not, you know, the preferred flavor of the crowd here, but, you know, it's not terribly incompetent, like coffee shop rock, you know. He's just shopping it to the wrong audiences, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
the words are just not good. So
yeah, well, and I covered
he's
that.
Definitely not a wordsmith.
Yeah, listen to most of those bands out there that do a lot of that shit, though, and it's not.
Yeah, his lyrics need a little bit of work.
I covered that definitely when we were talking about the other version. Is like the lyrics for DMC are overboard in terms of just like and definitely I think Mo spoke up a little more in defense of that style of music. But it's definitely sort of a parody of that kind of music. It goes even further than it needs to in most cases.
I agree.
And I just don't. When it comes to stuff lyrically, there are certain things that I just don't really care for. I don't really get into. Lyrics are important to me. They're not a deal killer because there are some songs that I cannot vibe to the lyrics, but I still love the song. But I love to be able to vibe to the lyrics. Now, his pop stuff is overboard, kind of saccharine sweet, but so the lyrics are just kind of like
don't make sense.
Some of them don't. It doesn't make sense why someone would sing about some of those things, but it's almost the musical equivalent of something like My Little Pony.
And if you listen to the soundtrack, there is a professional version that they did of it, where you can have actually an accompaniment. And sound-wise, for what it is, it's actually pretty good. It's just if you like that style.
And again, I have no beef on the music. It's the lyrics that, again, I just go a little overboard.
The lyrics of Satsugai actually told me right away, as I was reading them, when I was watching that opening for the first time, I was like, this is the kind of series I'm getting into, huh?
Indeed.
It's that,
what a good opener should do.
And they did a good job doing this. They gave you a little bit more than they give you with the anime, because they kind of just show him leaving and then being in the band. But they kind of show his moving to college, having that conversation with his kohai and with the girl he likes, and that whole concept which they bring up in the movie only, which is that no music, no dream.
Yeah.
And which
is how he gets trapped into the.
But it's also the thing that ties this movie together, whereas the other is kind of loosely tied, but it really is just a bunch of short skits in between. But this one gets tied together with that overlying theme, where that inspiration, that music is the inspiration for dreams, and it's. I thought that was a great way of doing it. Then it moved directly when he goes in there with that same poster there, and ends up going to the opening that Brittany pointed out. What did y'all think of that as a setup? I mean, especially for those of you who haven't actually seen the anime. I mean, do you feel like it was jarring when you got to that point where you saw this whole first part, he's leaving on the bus and doing the college section, then it goes straight to the metal section?
Yeah, it was definitely jarring. I didn't even realize it was him up on stage, being the persona at first, and I was like, oh shit, that's the main character. I'm like, what a fucking change! Like immediately you realize a fucking change, because even though with the scene with his mother, he doesn't seem quite like the wimp he is, even though he definitely seems like a wimp there. He doesn't seem quite as bad as he does. So if he was wimpier like he was in the rest of the movie in that first scene, it would have been even harder to realize it was him, because it was definitely complete opposites. Definitely definitely just about a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because except for the Mr. Hyde's the good one.
I think if somebody just showed me this movie, I hadn't seen the cover art or knew about it, that would have really took me off guard when I saw it.
Yeah, I never saw the cover art or anything, and not the anime either. So yeah, it definitely.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I was just like, this dude looks cool, but who is he? Like, I had no idea it was the main character. And,
not that one.
And I was just reading the lyrics, going, okay, these lyrics are kind of fucking fucked up. You know what I mean? I like I said, I've listened to a little bit of death metal, and yeah, I mean, some of their lyrics are fucked up, but this seems definitely more over the top than the lyrics that I've heard. I'm not an expert, so I don't know, but to me, it definitely seems more over top.
And just, by the way, can I just say with this promotional art, it's kind of weird that they call themselves, the movie's called Detroit Metal City. There's no Detroit, obviously this movie does not take place in Detroit, or making allusions to it. And then you've got the Chrysler building off to the side.
I didn't notice that.
And I think, if I want to say that space, Detroit Metal City is definitely a reference. I want to say it's
Detroit
probably
Rock
a
City.
reference to Kiss. Would that be because of that? But and of course, also you've got the chant that the band does. I mean, that the audience go to DMC, go to DMC.
Actually, to me that chant reminds me of. Any of you guys here a fan of Loudness? They're a Japanese metal band.
No,
don't know.
I've heard them. I just have.
Cammy knows
them. I've not listened to enough of it.
Oh yeah, because they have a song called "Rock and Roll Crazy Nights" where throughout the song they're chanting "say," which I'm not sure what the hell that means, but I don't know, that whole moment reminded me of that song.
Yeah, I like Loudness.
Could be.
I thought they were really good for a Japanese band, actually.
They were excellent. They still are.
There's a lot of good variety when it comes to the music styles and how it goes. Japanese rap, Japanese punk. They do a good job of throwing these styles out, and you see a little bit of those styles in the in this movie. You see more of it in the anime, but like especially the rock band would have been Cherry Boys, which of course was their song to poke at DMC. It doesn't go as far into it.
We got that pretty basically
something weird
out
going
of the
on
movie.
there.
I don't know who that is. But yeah, it's that was a shame that they didn't do a more expanded version of the whole them versus the punk rock band thing.
Yes, although as a montage, I thought it worked great.
Yeah, it did.
The way that they had like the little map sequence, and then they had them going up there against the rapper and up against the punk band, and it was sort of a microcosm of some of the different episodes, but it was again, as a montage sequence, it was pretty great. It just could have, you're right, they could have done more with it. Especially, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't pretend to be any more, much more versed in punk than I am metal. And I don't claim to be an expert in rap either. But from what I know of and what I've seen, I liked those performances. I would have liked to seen a little more, but they
gave Kiva a little bit more of a
what's that?
I mean, they gave Kiva and and the punk rockers they gave them their entire episodes to themselves in the
right. Well, Kiva was a childhood friend of Negishi. That was a little plot element they left out altogether, but
they did have junk kick the stage though, so
yeah.
I just liked that like sort of almost punk metal crossover performance we kind of got in a way in the anime.
Yeah.
And it would have been fun to see that live action, but for the purposes of the movie, you can't just give them their own episodes in the middle of it.
Right.
So. The montage was fun. I like the way that they like animated it too, with it slicing through the posters or whatever.
Yeah, the montage was for me. I did enjoy that.
It's like I said, a lot of what they showed in the montage was their way of covering some of the episodes they had to leave out, but also, showing DMC's rise to the top. I think that one of the things that, I mean, again, I'm giving this as a very big gloss over because I figure people will come back to elements they like, is that using that no music, no dream thing eventually comes back to him and realizing how many people that he's not only inspired, but that even if it's not the music that he prefers, he's still being an inspiration. He's still basically creating dreams with his music.
Yeah, and it's funny how his mom knew like all along, like she knew it was him,
and that was a change that I kind of liked because in the anime they play it as she doesn't know, and he's desperate that she'll never know. But in the movie, they make it clear that she knows without making it clear. You know what I mean?
He's still desperate for her not to know, but she already knows. Like,
well, yeah,
he doesn't realize that she knows until probably the end when he grabs the thing that she gave him for.
But to Brandon's point of his brother, that was an element that was played very similarly in the two versions, but here it's played toward the end when he's quit the band, and they use that no music, like you said, they show that he is influencing people, that he is, and it has more of an impact on him. Whereas in the other version, he was just going home for like the holiday or something, and he's just desperately trying to keep his brother on the straight and narrow.
I thought that was kind of cool the way he comes out and he's just telling him how it's like more mental for him to learn at school and do chores because he can help cut people's heads off if you know how to cut grass and stuff.
And you gotta learn the mower so when you have to ride the getaway vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. It was he said when you jack in a car, you have to know how to drive, and it was definitely cool the way he got his brother to do the things he was supposed to do and respect his parents and also cool how he tricked him into thinking that his haircut was cool.
Oh yeah, what is it they called it? The
Public obscenity cut.
yeah.
The penis head.
In the actual manga, the brother doesn't only get the obscenity cut, but he dyes it pink.
Hell yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, it would look more like a and
Oh jeez.
yeah, the manga actually takes it a few steps further than the anime, which it is great. Maybe not for everybody, but I mean, it's also kind of cool that they were able to put in some of that so that they could then bring it back at the end with the fight with Jack Gildark, which I'm sure if his brother was watching, his brother was like, "That's exactly right." Him knowing how to take care of the cows paid off at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great. I'm gonna BB you next.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. No, that was definitely funny. Like, yeah, next.
So before I'm going to hold the Jack Gildark fight until the end of the plot discussion. But anybody else want to talk about any of the stuff that happened in between A and B? You had that. You had the room scene. You had the amusement park. You had a couple other things.
I really do love that they kept in and did proper justice to the scene where he like hypes that kid from the Melon Tea Band up in the bathroom. I thought they played that pretty well in this. It was actually kind of touching, and I love it. It's a favorite for me, I think, in both the anime and the movie. So that's one that I'll throw out there.
It was a little weird
thought
seeing
that was really
Persona
good,
singing and dancing that weird song, but it was better song than his stuff.
Right.
Was it me, or do you feel like there was definitely more of a line between Negishi and Krauser in the movie than there was in the anime? Like you could see there was more of a slip, like that Negishi would fall more into Krauser sometimes by accident in the anime more. At least that's
right. Yeah,
like
they were more of a blended character,
Like in the CD shop at the beginning, where he gets in the air guitar thing in order to defend Yuri, and he ends up calling her like a filthy pig.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, they did a lot more of that in the anime, but I think the condensed timeline of the movie made it a little harder to do that in a nuanced way. But yeah, there was still a little bit of that, and they kind of mashed up the initial what am I saying, reunion scene in the record shop with the later date scene. They mashed those up into one scene here.
Yeah, they kind of did.
It was interesting. I thought it worked better when it was more stretched out, honestly, but I think they did both parts of that scene well here. And definitely when they were doing they mashed in a third part too. The part where she went to see DMC for research is kind of where they were doing the performance at the. And again, every time I see a movie with Tower, I go, I miss Tower.
I was gonna say, I mean, pour one out for the one that we've lost in this movie, which is Tower Records.
Yeah.
One thing about the movie is it totally.
Oh yeah, they're gone. They've been gone for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
What's that, Tammy? Something real quick.
One thing about this movie that I thought of right away when he was switching characters, because I thought of Alice Cooper right away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I can see some of them there.
I've watched interviews with him, and he says when he goes on stage, he's playing a character, and that's But if you see him when he's not on stage, he's a totally different person.
Though it didn't used to be that way, because he had such a he had a past of alcoholism and self-destruction that was terrifying back
right. But he overcame it, and it's like if you've ever seen interviews since he overcame it. You know, he's totally different people. You know, and he says, he gets in character, just like in this. He gets in character and he's putting on a show. You know,
I think he owns like a hot wings restaurant now, if I remember right. So you can go eat some Alice Cooper wings, I guess, or some shit down like somewhere.
Alice Cooper tried to go from basically heavy rock to metal later in his career.
Yeah.
So
he plays a lot of golf too these days.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Ooh,
Well,
Kiss, actually,
golf
Kiss
metal. Kind of the same
Golf
way.
is pretty metal. That would be sweet. Go ahead,
Kiss
Tammy.
puts on all their stuff. You know, and Kiss puts on all their stuff, and they go on stage. They're actually kind of like doing the same thing. They're putting on a show, but when they don't have all their makeup and everything on like that, they're like very down to earth. You know, same thing.
I mean, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley both seem to kind of turn into assholes. That's their basic when they're out of their makeup.
They're more businessmen than musicians.
Yeah, the other dudes are.
Simmons is a big businessman. I watched an interview with I think, isn't it Dan Rather or something like that they got on, and they had a big interview with him. He is like a totally businessman.
Oh, yeah. When he goes on stage, he lets the brain in his tongue take over at the time.
Dude would copyright this discussion if he could, though, for
this
sure.
Movie, I mean, how ironic
trademark it
to portray him as the demon.
Right.
How ironic, because he's the demon in Kiss.
Yeah, it's a rad character. It really is.
I mean, that's what caught my attention. Caught my attention to Kiss as a kid.
So, real quick, we'll also hit the one that Forrest talked about, which was, of course, the amusement park. A lot of those Sentai shows, from what I've seen at least, usually if you have an amusement park, you have a Sentai type show. And so it's not unusual to have something like that for the kids there. What's funny is that one of the lead groupies for him, I don't know if they portrayed as well in this as they did in the anime, but I know that the lead one with the long hair and the thing the tattoo he put on his head basically was the red. In the anime, he starts joining Krauser and just like, wait, what's going on? Why is this guy? So he starts beating up his teammates. Like, hail the Krausers!
They did it pretty good in this, though. It was probably the scene that comes the close to the sort of brand of humor that was in the anime. You know, they're at this wholesome show that he just crashes, and then the guys are like, "Fuck yeah!" You know, and that kid like tries to punch him, and he just tells him like, "You sit down, you don't touch him, or I'll kill you." You know, and then that he like confronts that dude, and that guy just fucking headbutts him. I mean, it's so random and sort of inappropriate, you know. All the kids scatter afterwards. He headbutts the guy, and those other dudes just start headbanging, and the fucking crowd just.
Oh, that was crazy. I mean, they reminded me of the Power Rangers. I mean, I think that's
what they are. Power Rangers was adapted from Sentai. And it was just kind of funny that they're all fans of him.
Well, yeah, they played that up more than they did. Like, again, the anime, the Red was like, the main guy. He was their main groupie, the guy that was at every show, the guy who was always helping spread the legends, all that kind of stuff. And this was, and he says, I think the same line in both versions, that he does this to make money to go to all the shows and whatever. But if I remember correctly, the other two, the blue and yellow, I think were just innocent bystanders in the original. In this one, they are kind of portrayed as also being, part of the group.
All the fanboy dudes.
I think it's better that they're all fans.
I loved it, dude, when he headbutted them and they just start, they're like, and they start headbanging. Like, it's not safe anymore.
Yeah, it was great.
But one thing, am I right? Was I right? Am I imagining this? That the lady and her child that were horrified when he was screaming at the window in the earlier scene, I feel like they're back in this scene. Like, I think it's the same. And it reminded me of another. It reminded me of an anime trope that I find kind of amusing, that I don't think was in the DMC anime, but I've seen that, where it's like you have a child stop and point at something scary or weird or disturbing or whatever, and the parent shuffles them along. It's like, no, don't look. Forget about that, and so they kind of had that worked into the movie with this recurring mother and child.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
I mean, the scene with the child in the anime is, I think, more disturbing in a lot of ways because they have the child singing one of their songs.
Are you talking about the Krauserton scene?
Yeah,
she's actually in the crowd.
Krauserton
does make a brief appearance in the movie, yes. But it was very disturbing.
How they had. I mean, yes, it was disturbing, but yes, that whole episode was hilarious. So they had like where she was singing that disturbing song, and they were like, "That's right, honey, you go." It's like it's terrible.
Yeah, it's
one thing they kind of like, I guess remixed for part of the Super Sentai scene in the movie that we did get in the anime, but used to more hilarious effect. I think, like, you guys will remember the punk rock show like burns to the ground because the one guy gets out of hand with his stage flames, and the whole fucking place just burns to the ground while the drummer keeps playing. Krauser rescues the punk rock chick, and everyone's like, "Oh, look, he rescued a lady," and then he's trying to give her mouth to mouth, and they're like, "Oh my god, he rescued her so that he could rape her," or some shit. And it just inadvertently builds the legend of the band as like this sick band, even though he's not trying to. They kind of remixed that in this, I feel like, where he saves the girl, but it's like more touching, and less sort of. I mean, that's the type.
Well,
there isn't
really.
Well.
Are you talking about like where he gets over Ayakawa when the statue's falling?
Right.
But there isn't really a crowd there, and that was one of the
I'm
things.
just saying it was like a similar gesture, but it wasn't, because that scene, as funny as it is in the anime, would have felt awkward with like real people doing it.
Right. But that was one big difference, and I think it may have been a difference that worked in the movie's favor the first time I saw it. I'm not really sure, honestly, but it's definitely a difference. And that is that in the movie, it happens a few times. But in the anime, it feels like every time Negishi does something, it somehow builds the legend of the audience, the crowd, usually that one dude, always finds a way to twist what's happening and build the legend of the band. And Negishi is not doing it on purpose. Just
not at all
doing it. And they did that a little bit here, but not as much. And I'm not really sure, but I almost feel like I missed that a little.
So, I mean, it could have worked if they had, as a whole, went the more offensive route with this movie that the anime. That's the only way it works. You can't just plug it in there in little bits and pieces, because then it would feel awkward and kind of gross,
That's probably part of the reason that the Tokyo Tower scene isn't there, because that was like so far over the top.
So, anybody else have anything about the plot before we get into the final fight with Jackie Dark?
Not really. I think everything's pretty much been said.
Oh.
So, they played out pretty convincingly as like the story of this kid that doesn't want to be in this band, that's in this band, and kind of quits and comes back. It fits very much that structure of a lot of sports movies in a way.
Like I say, I think they did a good job of taking a lot of these like individual stories and then sewing them into a coherent narrative. And ending with Jack Dark is actually not a bad thing. I think that was probably one of the better things to do. And Gene Simmons playing him, being this giant this giant death metal English rocker that was there, that had also over-top costume, not quite to Guar level, but I swear it was inspired by similar bands like that.
It felt a little Guar-esque. Yeah, it was.
But which feels a little bit out of the way for Gene Simmons in some ways. But It was actually, come to think of it, that was really weird. They had Gene Simmons, didn't dress him like his regular persona, and then they didn't even have him write or sing any of the song. That was just kind of a weird use.
I swear, man, I was only half joking when I said I wouldn't be surprised if Gene forced his way in there somehow, or they somehow managed to catch him on a very good day and get him to do this as like
he was
a favor,
he was evidently still doing the Gene Simmons Family Jewels at the time, so he flew over there to actually with his crew to film his cameo.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Right.
I wonder.
Yeah, there's got to be more to the story behind it. The only thing I've heard is that he did like the source material supposedly and wanted to be part. But
the source material was actually based on his Detroit Rock City song, from what I understand.
Well, at least partly.
It was at least partly. So it is cool that he answered the call to be like, hey man, I'm down.
There is also the fact that my understanding of this, and other people might know more on it than I do, I guess, but my understanding on it for a while has been that Kiss is huge in Japan, and that the feeling is mutual, that they have enjoyed being there, from what I understand. And
and then huge for Japanese.
Yeah. And as I've posted a couple times on the message feed, they even did a music video together with Mamoru Clover Z, which was animated by Studio Trigger. And I find it awesome that this exists in the world. But I don't think it would exist if he didn't have an interest in occasionally dipping his toe in various projects over there. Yeah.
What I found interesting is they portrayed him playing guitar. He doesn't play guitar. He plays.
Yeah, he's a bass player.
Yeah.
I caught that right away. I'm like, wait a minute, he don't play lead. He plays bass.
Like I said, Jack Dark is nothing like Gene Simmons, so it's kind of a very weird character for him.
To be fair, none of them are actually playing guitar in the movie.
True enough.
Right.
Well, yeah, but it's just, if you know Gene Simmons, it's just like,
But it seems weird to hire a musician to play a part that they can't actually play. That does, I admit, seem a little odd.
It is different. It is different. I mean, I guess it's better than having him be the drummer, but
Well, and I'm sure
not that I ever want to go on
that,
record as defending Gene Simmons, but
God forbid,
he's wrote a lot of songs with Kiss. I feel like, so I'm sure he knows how to at least basically play guitar enough to do probably the riff that they were asking him to mime out in this, because it did feel probably like one of the most convincing scenes of a guitar getting played in the movie as well. I mean, till it got to a certain speed, and it's like Gene ain't doing.
I swear that drummer only knew the word boomers.
Yeah. Now talking about that battle scene, though, I'm sure Brandon and Mo will both agree with me on this, but and maybe Brittany too. But I'm sure y'all were missing the cobras in that final scene.
It's been 10 years at least. I don't remember the anime that much.
They had the scene. They had the scene where Negishi meets him in his dressing room, and he's got like 2 cobras living around his neck, and then during the battle, Caymus ends up stealing them and using them to play the drums.
Dude, that actually might be another. Go ahead. Sorry, Brittany.
I will say, I absolutely want the guitar that Jack L. Dark has. In this
movie. That's a cool guitar.
Yeah.
The fact that
if you watch in the intro, I feel like he is playing with the cobras in the intro.
Yes. I was going to say that. The animation of him using the cobras to play the drums.
Yeah. All right.
And but what did y'all think of? To me, I did think that Jaggy had one cool moment in it where he was starting out with that bass, and they were amping up the crowd. Of course, Negishi doesn't show up until after comes on stage and kicks him off. But I thought that was a really cool amp up performance that they were doing.
Yeah.
And then they go into the fuck battle, which I mean,
Yeah.
But what did y'all think of that whole battle scene? And of course,
that was funny in that Adult Swim kind of way, that the long running sequence was funny, you know, where it's like, this has gone on properly too long at this point, and I respect them for keeping up like the joke for this long.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty badass.
I thought that was a cool scene. It was a little weird when the pyrotechnics went off and they like kind of got blew up or whatever. It was just, I don't know.
I thought that was fucking hilarious, dude. And I loved like the pro wrestling kind of vibe. Did you get that a little bit, Carl?
I
like
think I think the second time was a little more funny than the first time. The first time was like, what just happened? You know, it was kind of like it didn't really look like they were hit. It just looked like it was pyrotechnics near them, and then all of a sudden they're like supposedly hit, and I'm like, that it just didn't feel right, you know. The second time it didn't feel right, but it felt like it was a joke. Like, you know, I got the joke the second time.
Oh yeah. Anyone else on the Jackal Dark fight?
Oh, I thought it was pretty cool. The fact that, you know, just a flick of a cigarette, he's on death metal row. You know, he's flinging them fuck you pigs lyrics out there to the general audience.
I thanked her for doing it at that point of flicking the cigar, because he really needed to shut the fuck up with his music and play something good, because it was just horrible. And it was disturbing seeing him look the way he looked and singing those songs.
I will say, go ahead, sorry.
That was just more disturbing than anything else in the movie.
I will say that like whole build-up with the running scene, as dorky as it is actually kind of also some hype shit right there too, man. Like when he's running through the streets, gathering up all the DMC kids.
That was some Forrest Gump right there.
Yeah, it was fucking hilarious, but it was also kind of epic, you know.
I thought that battle was pretty darn epic at the end, and I admit, with the theme they were going for, having Negashi sing his song that he wrote with all of his heart on stage with that death metal cursed guitar that had been soaked in the blood of the enemies of all the people that passed down on was just, to me, it tied it together. In the anime, it wouldn't have worked, but in this movie, it had to go. It had to be that way, in my opinion. And that scene was great.
They had a similar thing as a throwaway gag in the anime, but he wasn't in full Krauser makeup. He was just playing the cursed guitar, which still creeped people out.
Yeah.
And I admit, there was talk of the design of the guitar. I think the cursed guitar looks a lot better in this version than the other version did. I will admit, it looks like, that looks like a cursed guitar. But not in a hideous way either. You know what I mean? Like, in a kind of cool way.
In a good way.
Yes, I mean that in a good way.
Well,
another thing I just want to bring up, fact of every time that the girl was like, the manager was like hitting him or something or whatever, he's like, don't kill me. Like, what? I mean, she was obviously, mean, but I don't ever think that at the moment, his life is threatened.
Well,
but
she was very
She's not going to kill
abusive.
him. That's her meal ticket.
Yeah, but he was like, don't kill me. He's like, what the fuck? Where did he get that from? Like, the scene when she kicks him was fucking awesome. When kicks him in the head, knocks him down. But the scene where she nails him in the nuts, I'm just like, oh man, that's just wrong.
Oh, she's freaking brutal. I mean, especially in the anime, she gets like real brutal. But the Jaggy in the anime just kind of stays out of the way in general, and it's Negashi that takes most of it because Negashi is the whiny baby of the group. So he becomes basically the target of most of her wrath because of it.
Yeah, well, he's a. I
Yeah.
wanted to hit him quite a few times too, so I was kind of rooting for the manager a few times. I mean, she was definitely a bitch and out of line, but he needed to be smacked a few times. Unfortunately, it didn't help that much.
Some people deserve a good beating every once in a while, I guess.
It just didn't seem to help him at all. He didn't seem to.
I would have.
It-
It would have helped the capitalist pig.
When she
Glad that you
fucking
mentioned him
wrecked
again.
his house and he's like revenge and all this shit. Like I thought maybe he had changed and he was not gonna be that whiny little bitch anymore.
Dude, it's okay. You'd love it in the anime because in the anime, if I remember right, he gets like pissed and then he goes out and gets wasted and just decides that he's gonna write like this fucking pissed off song and he comes back and he's like, I'm gonna be like a death metal get lord or whatever, and he just plays the song for her in her office.
Yeah, she's like really hyped on it until he then he goes and then he says something like he goes off on her and then she basically
just
beats the crap out of him, puts him in his place, and he's back to Negashi again.
Yeah, but briefly, he's kind of a badass for a second in the anime.
Is he still a pervert in the end of the anime?
A pervert?
Yeah, because the girl that he likes, he like looks up her skirt or whatnot, like a couple of times, and she calls him a pervert.
Well,
He's flipping the skirt.
Yeah,
I feel like it's
again. He does a lot. He does a lot worse. He does a lot worse to her in the anime, and again, it's mostly verbal abuse, but it's just getting full on Krauser at inopportune moments.
Well. And why don't we move on to special effects? We've touched a little bit on it, especially with the opening scene, but a lot of the pyrotechnics were cool, and the costume design was really cool as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
The costume and makeup for the band was almost spot on the same. Actually, some of the and the Kiva, the rapper, also looked absolutely identical. I think the punkers looked a little different, and Jack Dark looked a lot different. But other than that, they did do a really good job with the makeup and costume. Yeah, that public obscenity cut didn't do Negashi any favors in the regular scenes, though.
It is glorious. It is.
Oh, it's horrible.
It is a marvel of nature,
horrible.
and I appreciate every curve and follicle.
I mean, knowing how whiny and bitchy he is, the haircut kind of fits him because he's just he's like. He's a penis.
I'm gonna cut my hair like that for the summer, dude, and be real aerodynamic when I'm running around at work.
This is one of those films that it's rare to say it, but the makeup is oh so good. And I have to give it main credit to when they do the raining scene and he's as Krauser in the rain.
Yeah.
And the makeup's not flawed. It's not smudging. So I mean, that is some well done makeup.
I was expecting the makeup to smudge something in the rain, and it didn't. I was like, wow, that was definitely impressive.
The idea based on the way that it moved on his face and how it looked kind of similar to the texture of what was like holding on like the drummer's hair appliance and stuff, that it maybe was like a full face, like thin latex appliance of sorts, more so than it was actual paint, I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but it had a very not corpse paint look to it. It had like it was a mask he was wearing almost, or something to that effect.
But I still feel like the effects came across really well in this.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I said, the stage design was killer. The stage during like a couple of the concerts, and I think it was the one at the end where they had like the barbed wire and the skulls and like broken pieces of like, you know, like steel beams and shit, and it just looked like a Gorgoroth concert or something like that. And they did a good job. You know,
Yeah.
I think overall everything in that department was great.
And the overall production design as well. Like we had talked earlier briefly about Negishi's apartment after the manager visits it, you know, and then you had the actual look of the coffee shop. It definitely looked like one of those kind of fashionable, trendy kind of places, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But before, yeah, as you said before, I was thinking after, but yeah, before, it looked trendy.
Yeah.
I liked how they had Amelie as the film that you love to watch.
Yes. Yeah. I like French films.
I think they did a great job too with like the crowds for the concerts and stuff, and it just generally concert atmosphere as a whole, outside of like the final battle where it gets a bit comic bookish. But
the entire,
you know, like
the entire cinematographic and locations, even. I mean, the way they did the setups for a lot of the locations, which is rare in so many live action Japanese films and television shows, to get a really nice location shoot. I don't know if the Earth Dome, was it the Earth Dome that they fought in the last place?
Yeah.
Listed. I don't know if that's an actual building or named for the building, but I think it's like they put on a fake name on there, because they also did one for the coffee shop he goes to, which was a bit of, I think, just like a nice little pun, and that was about it. Which was, I think, Cake and Coffee. It was like some stupid little punny name to it.
That sounds about right for that one.
Well, and again, I mentioned too his whole apartment, and you know how it looked in the aftermath and everything earlier. But that was another killer piece of like set design or whatever, where someone had a lot of fun making it look all fucked up and hellish, you know, afterwards. And it looked about like the apartment he had in the anime. You know?
With one difference I noticed, and I wonder if y'all think they tried. If you think they tried to do the TV impaled on a spike, I think in the final version they had it hanging from chains.
Yeah.
But
skulls and stuff. Of course, they brought in a freaking spike in the anime, so I guess I guess they could bring in their own props. But
I don't know how you would do that for real with it still staticking, because that was the whole thing in the anime, was that it was there to be staticky so that it would add like atmosphere or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess why don't we move to the music? We've touched on it definitely. To me, I think the music in this is actually one of the cooler parts. I mean, I think they have some pretty cool ones. I mean, Setsugai, of course, from the original anime. They kind of touch on some of the other, but not really as much. But I mean, I loved "Fucking Hem Palace." I thought that was a great. I thought that was a great song, and of course, I've listened to the whole version that they recorded, and I think, as I said, it was Slipknot.
Slipknot did the actual song, and you can find it on YouTube.
Yes.
Slipknot performed it live on YouTube. So,
and But what do you think of the music in this?
I thought it was good, man. I mean, I wouldn't say that I was complaining necessarily about it not hitting the death metal thing as much. It's just it needed to be noted. They do get in some heavier music in there. I feel like we get a lot more of that legit, extreme music vibe from the anime because there is so much more of it. But now that I'm thinking back on it, I feel like there was a couple of songs they played on there that had more of like a really sleazy arena rock vibe to them than they did straight death metal or black metal or anything. So I like it. There's a couple of bangers in there, real like good songs that I would listen to just because they're good songs.
And if you look at the lyrics or if you listen carefully, a lot of the DMC songs are just darker versions of his of Negashi's like little folk songs that he writes. Which
Well, I like the music. I just didn't really care for some of the lyrics.
Right. I agree.
Right. Yeah.
it's slightly over the top.
Yeah. It's like I said, we talked about that in our discussion before. It's just a general thing for me, and this has changed over the years. When I was younger, I wouldn't have gone near metal of any shape or form, but as I'm getting older, I'm liking it more. But the lyrically, this regular metal I'm good with. Death metal is a little a bridge too far in most cases.
Yeah, I mean, you're mostly going to hear the riffs most of the time, anyways,
Yeah.
and the drums.
Right.
But there are some properly repugnant fucking
Yeah.
death metal lyrics
Oh,
out
yeah,
there
absolutely.
that definitely, like, this is a solid parody of the stuff, but there are songs that are way, 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 way worse than a lot of this shit.
Oh.
But again, you know, it's like the type of things you read the lyrics once and you're like, that's fucked up. And then when you see them live, you can't understand what the dude's saying anyways. I mean, the bands that have like lyrics you could sing along to typically don't get as disgusting or descriptive with it.
I feel in a way this sort of opened the door for going back to the concept of Adult Swim's Metalocalypse, which was a death metal band and parody that also had that same sort of vibe in music, but we had more of the inside look of their daily lives, which living that role.
Right, if basically it's doing the same sort of idea. Like, what if the trope you think of with that music was a real person, you know? And it's just, you know, again, it's not, most of it's not music you really sing along to. After a while, you do get to where you can kind of understand the lyrics like by ear more, but it's mostly shock value to go along with the cover art the first time you read through the lyric booklet, and then that's it. You know, there's very few death metal like classics that I could like recite the lyrics to off the cuff, you know, because it's
I don't think there's a single one I can.
I feel like it's almost like early Creator, you know.
Creator was like, yeah, definitely proto death shit, dude. That's a deep cut right there.
Well,
proud of you, Dave.
Yeah, I remember seeing them in high
Creator.
school. They were great.
Yeah, fucking awesome band.
Well, that's the same thing with punk rock. I mean, the darker you get with some of the lyrics, or the more the bands go, sometimes the harder it is to understand what the hell they're saying. I know that there were a lot of bands. I'm sitting there reading the lyrics because you want to know what the heck they're actually on about. Of course, some of those were like there was a band I remember listening to back in I think 2002. They called themselves Fall on Deaf Years, and I really liked them. All the lyrics, though, for them, it wasn't necessarily dark lyrics, but they were very complex and kind of moving. But if you were listening to them go at it, you really couldn't tell any of what they were saying.
Right. I mean, it's, you know, there's certain bands that manage to do it in a way where you can pick up on it and like kind of sing along to it and shit.
Like Cradle of Filth.
I mean, I suppose some of it, yeah, for sure. But it's, you know, a lot of it's like, unless you really just know the song by heart, you're not going to sit there and be playing over the lyrics to a lot of it. You're just supposed to thrash out, you know. It's like audible horror movies or something with death metal. That's the way it pretty much is supposed to be. So it's actually worse than a lot of this, but this does a good job of condensing it down into like a parody, you know.
Right.
And it gets pretty gross with it, for sure. The anime, definitely, we got a lot larger dose of that. But for the type of thing they were clearly trying to do with this, making it more of like a proper movie, that would have been distracting, I think.
The lyrics actually kind of remind me of a band called Kid with Man Head, which
hell yeah, I like
their
that.
album, let's see, it was the Mr. Potato Head Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a good example of one where they had a song about basically cheese grating people to nothingness.
Lovely.
It's but with that being said, anything else on the music?
Nope.
All right. Well, favorites. So why don't we start with you, Forrest? Oh, actually, and I'm going to add another little question to it, like I have. So first off, what is your favorite scene? And then second off, if DMC was a real band, would you be a fan?
Right. Favorite scene. Okay, so for me, it's probably the Super. I have two of them: Super Sentai cameo, and the final performance at the end. And hell yeah, I would fucking pay to see DMC. Even if they were just playing even if they were just playing a basement show.
All right. Actually, I feel like they'd be at home in a basement show. I really do.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun as shit, dude. Especially with the bondage stuff going on, you couldn't get away from it if you wanted to.
So, Tammy, favorite scene, and would you be a fan of DMC if they were a real band?
My son would be a fan. I mean, like I said, I like the music. I just didn't really care for their lyrics, but I like the music. You know, like I said, like a Japanese band. It's called Loudness.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of reminded me a little bit of them. Favorite scene, I got a kick out of when he was talking to his brother, and he was telling him, about the chores, and he wouldn't cut the grass, and it was like, and it was gone. I thought that was kind of neat.
Awesome.
I think that whole thing with him talking to his brother basically was what I liked the best.
Let's see. Where are we? Kroll. Favorite scene, and if DMC was a real band, would you be a fan of them?
I if I heard them, I'd probably like the music. I liked it because I liked the music in the movie. So, I probably would not go see them in concert though. Just not the type of music I go to see. I like singing along songs. That's good lyrics. So definitely not something I probably would see. Although I've always wanted to see Gore.
I've seen Gore multiple times. They put on great. They put on
Yeah,
kick-ass
One of
shows.
the best things you can ever
They're
do.
one of the exceptions to the rule on that. But yeah, I don't think I would see this band live.
Obviously, you would be glad to see Negashi live if you could.
Fuck all that.
Come and see me, your local Starbucks.
Cannibal Corpse. Let's go.
I've seen them several times, and they don't disappoint.
And favorite scene, I mean, the one that Tammy brought up is definitely a good scene. I enjoyed it. I mentioned it earlier. Oh, I liked it. But I think the battle at the end is probably the best scene. The whole it was a little bit too long, but when he's like yelling with Gene Simmons' character's Jack playing the guitar, it was neat. It was cool. I enjoyed the whole thing. The only thing that kind of ruined the moment was when she got up on stage and asked him if it was her friend. Like, why would she do it in the middle of the concert? Like, just it felt wrong, weird. Like, I thought she was gonna get up on stage and be like, "I know it's you and I love you," or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe that would have been sappy, but it would have been better than her asking if he's her friend. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Those are my scenes that I thought was best.
So, Mo, what was your favorite scene? And of course, if DMC was a real band, would you be a fan?
I think I'd probably be a fan in that way that I am of like Metalocalypse or Death Clock or whatever, where there's definitely songs I would, go back and listen to, maybe not frequently, but every once in a while because I like them, and would definitely be down to see live. Unfortunately, I never got to see any of those Death Clock shows that they were doing for a while.
I actually got to see them. If you got to see them like a decade ago with my dad.
Oh,
They
wow.
seemed like they were super fun shows, man.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
they were
imagine
awesome.
something like this, being as they can actually dress up as the characters, would even be crazier.
That they didn't do.
Yeah, I could see them being a band that would open for somebody like Galore, actually, if this band were real, you know. So yeah, I would definitely like probably be a fan of them in a live context, and they would have those songs I would listen to. But even like Death Clock, I don't go to that for like my death metal fix or anything. I really like a couple of songs, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And in terms of favorite scenes, I don't know, man. I'm really partial to the fact that they actually kept in the whole bathroom like hype session scene with the dude from the Melon Tea band and actually did it as good as they did it in this. Like, that might be my favorite scene in the movie overall, outside of like the stupid stuff that's just fun, like the Sentai show or the whole running thing. So,
all right. Let's see here. Mo, and then, Dave, what was your favorite scene? And of course, if DMC was a real band, would you be a fan of theirs?
I think my favorite scene is when he was being stocky towards the love of his life, and he went into the bathroom, and he was all cool with like his old buddy, you know, from college, or whatnot. I also enjoyed the brother scene, like Tammy did. I think we both looked at each other like, "What the fuck." You know, because he cut the grass just like that, and his brother was all like, "Oh man, you must have been a farmer or some shit," you know.
Son of a farmer, he said.
But and the battle was pretty cool. And I don't know. I guess. I do kind of enjoy the flick of the cigarette on dude's forehead just to get him in the kick of the hate mode. But there's a lot of like favorites, so it was an enjoyable film, and I hope to eventually acquire it. It's just I'm not sure how many copies are out there and available.
This is doable at a decent rate of around 15 to 20, but the anime, Mo had brought this up, but I didn't realize how out of print it was. That thing is like expensive. Unfortunately,
it's up there, like 80 to 120 in that range, I think it is.
Ouch.
And it's only 12 episodes, and they're only 13 minutes a piece, pretty much.
That's just like totally different from what I paid, and Jake paid much cheaper than I did.
Yeah, as much as I love that anime, it's worth like, I don't know, $30 tops in terms of like actually a fair price for the amount of entertainment you're getting, you know.
Totally agree. And Dave, if DMC was a real band, would you be a fan?
I would probably be a fan of sorts. I like the music. I'm not sure how much I like the lyrics, but I've also listened to a lot of, you know, interesting music in my lifetime. So whether I would feel the music at that given point in time, I think I'm at a mellow point in my life. But yeah, I would probably give them a listen. I think we've all been down that road where we got that certain music that we listen to just to feel that hatred towards people.
I mean, yeah, when you're like angsty and young or whatever, I suppose, definitely. And you know, it's good to let off that steam every now and again. I enjoy the music more for like just the shocking nature of it, but kind of like how we like some movies, you know.
What about you, Brittany? What's your favorite scene, and would you be a fan of DMC if they were a real band?
Well, my favorite scene is going to be a bit of a different one from everybody else. It's going to be when he's first coming out from their performance on the stairs, and you hear basically the people are just shoving him out of the way because he's like looks like some just nerd, and they're waiting for Krauser. And that you hear all these rumors building up of what Krauser does and all this build up. And I feel that's very much what the series was about as an anime and a manga. It's a lot of it's the build up that you believe of the character that he's unfortunately becoming. And that's what I felt the movie really got in that one scene. As far as would I be a fan of him, I was a fan of Rog. I have to say Rog because I'm from Richmond, Virginia, the hometown of Guar, and Guar was never allowed to perform.
Nope. Unfortunately, it is. But we're prudes in Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I probably would. Oh, sorry, Jake. I forgot about you.
I guess he didn't want to know what I thought.
No, obviously. Favorite scene, and would you listen to DMC as a band?
I don't think I would go so far to call myself a fan. And I definitely wouldn't be playing them very often. But I feel like it might be something on my bucket list to see a show like this once. So if going into it as, well, maybe I knew a little bit about them or whatever. I mean, as Brittany just pointed out, we're from the hometown of Guar, so if I ever could catch one of those, I feel like that should be on my bucket list. But, yes. DMC would be a decent substitute, I suppose. I have made it to Guar Bar, which is a fun place, and I enjoy it.
I know, and I'm so proud of you.
I've had their Happy Meal.
That's pretty cool. Guar Bar.
It was pretty fun. And then, decent food for the most part. But as far as favorites in here, there are definitely several really good scenes, and some people have mentioned some that I agree with some of your ideas. Like the one Brittany just mentioned was definitely a good scene. The scene with the brothers, definitely a good scene. I'm probably leaning more toward the one in the bathroom with the dude from Tetrapod Melon Tea. And one that just a brief moment that hasn't really been mentioned, but I think it should be mentioned, that is very similar in both versions, and I like it a lot. And that's when Negishi goes home and he thinks he's going to have a break, thinks he's going to be free of all this DMC craziness. And before he even sees what's going on with his brother, he runs into his mom, and she's wearing a DMC shirt. And just his reaction is like, no.
It comes across horrified. Much more in this one too, that like she actually likes the band and kind of, or like she finds it kind of exciting and is excited for him.
And of course, like she knows it's him. She knows.
She seems more. Well, I'm not sure she does when he first comes home, but she definitely does by the time he leaves.
Right.
In the anime, she comes across as a little more clueless. It doesn't really.
Yeah.
It's more like she's wearing the shirt because it was laying around, I guess, more than because
Yeah, because she's trying to support,
right.
And that was way better done in this. And I can't believe I forgot to mention it as a favorite, but one of mine also was when he goes to the shrine with his mom, and she's basically kind of telling him that she knows.
Yeah.
And then he sees the little thing sitting there where it's like she just wished for him to have his dreams come true or whatever.
Well, and also where she gives him the little charm to give to Krauser. Yeah, and she's like, next time you see him, like he normally pals around with this guy, It's like,
right.
Yeah. So there's a few good moments, and the Sentai show. Oh, I do also want to mention the montage scene is one of my favorite scenes. I do enjoy that. The musical montage I thought was fun. And I, with what you guys were saying, I had to look it up. Okay. Amazon shows the anime a minimum price of around $60. They have a listing for the movie, $829.25.
What? That's
like-
got to be some type of mistake.
Jesus Christ.
That's like, no, I wouldn't pay that much for a movie.
I wouldn't even pay
No.
that for Star Wars.
That's for the DVD too. It's like that's insane.
Did they have
That's
a
why I'm
Blu-ray
good with
for this one?
What's
with
that?
My backup.
Did they do a Blu-ray release for this one? I mean, for the anime.
They definitely do. I mean, I have it on Blu-ray, the anime.
Yeah, because I don't even see that listed.
Yeah,
but
Yeah, it's not on Amazon either.
well, it's confusing because they have the
it's
same
extra.
images for different items, and it's weird. But anyway,
Well,
I thought I would throw that. I thought I
unfortunately-
would throw that out there because I know that was one of the reasons why Brandon and I were introduced to Makoto Shinkai, because we were wondering why 5 centimeters per second was as expensive as it was.
Yeah.
And it's like, you gotta wonder if anyone else is doing that with Detroit Metal City, if they're like, why is this so expensive?
Might be on that Asuka the Disc Dog. Worth checking if you don't want to pay like some crazy price. I unfortunately have to take off a little early, guys. I got my little cousin is over here. I'm gonna go.
All right.
Do you want
rot
to
his
shout
brain
out
with
real
some
quick,
Seaver
or-
films.
Glad you're
No, you
doing
can go
this.
ahead and just, if you want to plug it in at the end, that's fine, man.
All right.
Thanks for having
Okay.
me on for this, though. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for sharing.
All
your
right.
Later, Mom.
Have a good
Definitely.
night.
Yeah, you guys have
Catch
a
you
good night.
later.
So, I mean, as far as my favorite scene, it was the just that opening scene when they finally get past like that initial, and they're running that really expensive opening over the Satsugai thing with all the animations and stuff. I just thought that was a really cool thing. It got me hyped up, and
Yeah.
I would see the movie that deflated my hype as bad as it went. As far as would I be, like I said, I probably would be maybe not a full-on fan, but I definitely would have had their music if I had heard of them, just because, especially back when I originally heard of this, I would have gotten their stuff. I think I used to have an album because I had it ripped, but as with many things, they get lost with time. But still, a fun thing overall. So I guess we'll go into outros. So we'll start with Brittany.
Hi, I'm Brittany Dotson, otherwise known as Embry Arts. I do a lot of live streaming with anime and video games and drawing streams. I'm an artist by trade. I also have a book out, Demon Blade Book 1, available on Amazon right now. You can buy the physical copy or you can buy the digital copy.
All right. Let's see here. We'll get back to you, Dave, at the end. Jake.
Did you fall
Hi.
asleep?
So, no. Yeah, anyway. My name is Kotobukijake. I'm a anime and movie and general media fan and collector here in Central Virginia. I am the co-host of SeptumSin versus the World, and where we have all kinds of fun stuff. We have an Oscar discussion up this week, and we'll, of course, and the DMC discussion that I'm sure Brandon will be plugging some of the other stuff here momentarily. So I'll leave that to him. And of course, I dabble myself in various aspects of film when I have the opportunity. I've got a couple projects I'm backing on Kickstarter and, that sort of thing. And meanwhile, work, full-time job, and I've got my own business. So, but I make time to watch stuff so I can come on with these fine folks and talk about all kinds of crazy movies. Yep.
All right. Kroll.
I'm Kroll, aka Ron in real life. I enjoy movies and TV shows, and I enjoy talking about the movies I watch and shows. So it's fun to come on this podcast and come on another podcast on Sunday with Dave and Tammy, and just I enjoy that. I also enjoy reading and playing video games. So I'm disabled, so I have a lot of time to do the things I enjoy.
All right. Well, let's see here. Tammy.
Hello. Yes, I enjoy coming on this show and David's other one, and I have my own collection of movies and music and everything. And of course, in the summertime, I like to play with my 1972 Grand Prix, which I went out and was checked on her the other day. She's doing just fine. I just hope these damn gas prices go down because my damn truck ate $80.
Mhm.
So that's about it.
All right. Forrest.
I'm Forrest Bennett. I'm an independent film producer and sometimes actor based on Long Island, New York. Actually, recently, a movie that I was an executive producer on called Shadow Marsh came out, which I was an executive producer on for Three Keys Media. I'm also recently filmed an upcoming trauma movie called Bring On the Damned, directed by Brandon Basham. Also, movie and comic book collector, metalhead, actually heavy metal fan. I have my YouTube channel where I do movie pickups and discussion and do movie pickups. And my Instagram, my name is not Gump, where I do comic book pickups. I've always got something going on. I've just always got something going on.
All right. Well, I'm SeptumSin of SeptumSin versus the World. We like physical media here, and we like to reflect it. So this week is probably one of the busiest we have had for a while since we've scaled back. I mean, there's something going on daily this week. It's quite amazing. On Monday, I've been kind of bringing back a looser version of the What's New, where I go through all of the stuff that's being released on physical media as far as movies are on TV are concerned for the week. So that's there. Then, of course, Monday we had our pre-Oscar discussion, and Dave was on with us for that, where we talked about our predictions, and so that's coming up. If we can finagle it, I'm hoping to even maybe try and live stream our reactions to the show as it goes. I mean, I'm sure that ABC will block the video, but it's all right. We can enjoy it while we can. And then, of course, let's see here. Of course, today we released the impromptu anime anti-climax discussion of the anime for DMC. So if you've enjoyed this discussion, come on over to our channel and you can get the anime discussion as well. Then Thursday, we're going to be releasing a 1 of 3 parts where we go through what's left of my singles comic book collection, or actually go through over my single issues. We had some fun ones like the weird ecstatic stuff, some of my Image comics, a couple of manga that they used to look back in the day when they did single issue releases. So some pretty cool stuff there. And then Friday, we're going to be hitting our next Bad Ben discussion, where me and Mo discuss Badder Ben, the third of the Bad Ben movies. So it's going to be a lot of cool stuff. And of course, don't forget to look for Mo's channel. Let's see, Retro Cult Home. Was it movies or cinema? Movies, I think.
Movies.
Yes. I always get the last word wrong, but where he does a lot of cool content and hopefully some new content soon. I know he's got a a discussion coming up Sunday for Grave of the Fireflies. So that will be freaking awesome as well. I'm sure Jake is looking forward to hearing me dump on the film again that day.
Oh man, I forgot that was this Sunday. I may have to just not watch any more Oscar films before the show.
But I'll talk about next week. But
dumping on the anime tragedy. Yay, dumping on the anime tragedy.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that.
And my name is David Streggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for joining us on this relatively retrospective journey inside the working mind of Brandon's film knowledge. So it's been entertaining, but we go on and discuss movies every week, every Tuesday. So come back and join us next week. But I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where we also podcast under that. I podcast with Kroll, who joined us tonight, and my fiance Tammy. So join us on Sundays when we go on for our other extracurricular viewing. And I also do video uploads of my what I collect at any given point in time, as well as some video reviews from time to time on my thoughts and processes. So check those channels out. And going back to you, Brandon, what do we have in store for next week?
Well, of course, March is one of those that has a lot of Tuesdays in it. So y'all have one more Tuesday to have me around for, but then you can get rid of me after that. And, I thought I've been nice pulling my punches. This thing, I've actually been very considerate of everybody for the most part. Sorry, Tammy. But this one, I couldn't help myself. My love of bad films just...
Yeah, you couldn't.
It just couldn't be stopped. And I've been debating this. Actually, I debated this with Jake. It was either this one or a documentary. And he was like, no, go for this one. And I was like,
thank you, Jake. Thank you.
Everyone should experience this shipwreck at least once.
At least it's not the third version.
I friggin' hate documentaries, except for Star Wars, but that's a big exception.
This does document a true event. It's a historic film called Titanic. The legend goes on. The animated musical of Titanic that has garnered a pretty interesting reputation of being one of the worst animated films made. So
one of the worst films.
Second only to the other Titanic animated film, which is far worse.
I'm surprised that you haven't corrected me on the title, Jake. You usually always do when it comes to
on the title.
Yeah, it's really Titanic. La Legenda Continua from
I just wanted to hear you try to say it.
That's an Italian film. It's a lot easier for me to pronounce. But but still, I think we'll have fun with this. It's one of those films that I feel is so bad it's good. And as Jake said, I think anybody should watch this at least once just so they can understand the train wreck for what it is.
It has raised in the rankings though.
2.3 and
it's
right?
What?
It's 2.3 on IMDb.
2.3?
Yeah, there are many films lower ranked than this. So
there are a lot of ones and zeros out there.
Yes,
because it may actually. I'm not sure. I'm not even seeing it on the list here. It was at the bottom of their bottom.
Yeah.
Huh?
It was for a while at the bottom.
Yeah, at the bottom of the bottom 100, but it has raised in the rankings.
Maybe it's those people who looked at it and said it was so bad, it was so good. So, but
does it in fact have a physical release?
It does.
Yes.
Matter of fact, what y'all be getting from it is what I pulled from that. But it's no American release, but I have gotten a UK release of it. So there is a physical. But with that being said,
Is it dubbed?
yes,
It's English.
it's
in
in English.
Yeah, I know, but is it dubbed American? No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's actually in English. The whole thing.
Including the rapping dog.
No,
Yes.
I'm just
Yes.
joking. You know that
At least it's not dubbed in
American.
Italian.
Our English is a little bit different than British English. So I was joking
no,
by
no.
saying, "Is it dubbed?"
At least it's not dubbed in Italian. So
No, I'd probably take it better. I'm
Well,
not looking forward to this one.
With that, next week it's gonna be party time.
It's party time.
Sounds interesting.
All right. Well,
All right.
anything to end us off with, Dave, or you want me to?
I think we're good. But ladies and gentlemen, like, share, and subscribe, and hopefully you're ready to journey forth from where Titanic is now being docked, and now we might be ready to sail the ship of dreams.
All right.